A special presentation from TV6 Sports is next. This year has been all about the madness. Izzo's Spartans, Beeline's Wolverines, Big Ten rivals battling for the chance to advance to the Sweet 16. Now is their time, their moment to shine on the first leg of the journey down the road to hoops history. This is March to Glory.
Good evening, everyone. Happy March and welcome to our annual March to Glory pre-NCAA tournament special. I'm Fred Heumann. Welcome to our show. The next 60 minutes jam-packed with lots of hoops. MSU, Michigan, and Western Michigan all in the NCAA tourney this year. It all starts tomorrow, so hang on to your seatbelt, and I hope you save some sick days. Both MSU and Michigan play opening round tournament games tomorrow. Michigan, 7 p.m. in Milwaukee against Wofford. MSU found out its tournament fate early Sunday evening after defeating Michigan in the Big Ten title game to the East region, meaning the next stop would be in the East, New York, if the Spartans can win 2 games in Spokane, Washington. First up, Delaware tomorrow at 4:40. The Blue Hens are that school whose football helmets look just like Michigan's. Remember? In basketball, very little familiarity to the Hens, but the Spartans are dancing, and that's all they care about.
We don't know much about Delaware. I don't even know what conference they're in, but I mean, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're in the tournament for a reason. So we just got to get prepared and go out there and play as hard as we can.
Play in Alaska now just to play more basketball, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll play pretty much anywhere. I mean, this is the time of year that we live for, as Spartans. So we just got to take advantage of every opportunity that we can get to step on the floor.
I don't really know much about Delaware, but the opportunity we get to go out there to Spokane, continue our season that many other teams can say that they're doing that. So we go out there and hopefully we can make it another good weekend. No matter what the seed, you could be a 1 seed, a 15 seed, 16 seed, whatever. You still got to play 6 games. You want to win the national championship. So I feel like the seeding thing really doesn't matter.
All right, and the coach of the Spartans is fond of saying, you get me to the next round, I'll get you to the Final Four. Tom Izzo's pretty good at that. And this getting to the NCAA tournament every year now for 17 straight years never gets old.
Sometimes I take it for granted, and I made sure I told my players don't ever take it for granted because it is special. And going 17 straight times, I think, is maybe the best thing we've accomplished here. The Final Fours are great, but the consistency of not falling off the map, and every program has fallen some ways, or just about every one, and we've been as consistent as anybody in the nation, and that I take great pride in. There were people around here that, pronounced us dead 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, and now all of a sudden we went from that ugly duckling to the prom queen.
There is revived hope among Spartan fans now that this team can make a run, mostly because of the 3 wins over the weekend in Indianapolis, where the Spartans won Tom Izzo's 4th Big Ten tournament championship. I'm not sure if Audrey Dahlgren was ever a prom queen. She could have been, but she was courtside on the weekend at Indy. She joins me now for a recap on how the Spartans got here. Fun weekend, eh, Audrey?
Fred, I actually was homecoming queen and prom queen, but definitely a fun weekend it was. Before tip-off, the energy in Bankers Life Fieldhouse was electric. Michigan looked for its first Big Ten tournament championship in program history, while MSU entered the weekend highly motivated to not lose 3 times to the Wolverines in one season, but to prove Sparty belonged among the nation's elite. Once that happened, the laughter was overflowing and the smiles were contagious.
We won a Big Ten football championship in your city. And now we won a basketball championship.
It was a big relief that, we as a team, we won this for, our coaches and, for their families. And you could see the happiness on, Coach Izzo's son's face. Steven, he was crying and very emotional.
I haven't seen him smile like that in a long time. So, it was pretty good to see him put a smile on his face for once.
Gary, what was better, beating Michigan or getting the Big Ten championship?
Both.
Equal?
Beating Michigan to get the Big Ten championship, it doesn't get much better than that.
The Michigan State Spartans who have won back-to-back games for the first time since January. Oh my goodness. Gary Harris. Dallas.
That was one of our goals at the beginning of the season, was to win this tournament. And we didn't get the other goal of winning it outright during the Big Ten season, but we still had this goal in front of us, and it was right there, and we took it.
I was more motivated to win the championship than anything.
Appling leaving, driving, what a play!
Me being from Michigan kind of played a big part in me wanting to beat those guys, but I mean, the main goal was to win the championship, and that's what we wanted to stick to, and we accomplished that.
I just had a good feeling. Everybody was pumped and ready to play, and I like you said, I had a good feeling, and you could hear it in everybody's voices and in the coaches' voices, and we all have confidence in each other, so it was good.
You've been waiting for this moment. Just talk about how good it feels to, one, beat Michigan and to get this Big Ten championship.
It feels good, and just thanks to our seniors. I just told Keith, if we want to win, a championship, we just have to be relentless, and that's what we did. Keith Appling, Adrian Payne, Denzel, those guys are leaders. Gary, all of us are leaders, but just to be out here and winning a Big Ten championship, and for me, just getting these opportunities to play against these guys, it was definitely fun.
Here comes the veteran, Dawson.
So would you say getting the Big Ten championship here was better than beating Michigan, or was it the same, or beating Michigan was better?
I'll say the same, but you have that in-state rivalry between Michigan. It just felt great. They beat us twice in the regular season, and just to see us get this win was definitely fun. And after those two games in the locker room, it was just so emotional. So we just told each other that, hey, we just can't have that moment anymore.
Well, Michigan State did turn a lot of heads after its three-day weekend in Indianapolis with wins over Northwestern, Wisconsin, and in-state rival Michigan. Not only did everyone on ESPN's bracket special select the fourth-seeded Spartans to win the NCAA tournament, but President Barack Obama even has MSU going all the way. Pretty crazy, huh, Fred?
Hi, thanks, Audrey. We have 2/3 of our 6 sports team here in studio. The third leg has had a busier day than us, probably more fun than us. Kevin Gale checks in from Spokane, where he got to meet a man I've known for 35 years, but this was a Kevin first.
Fred, it was such an honor to spend some time here in Spokane with the great Judd Heathcote. Don't miss our one-on-one interview, including some of Judd's favorite Spartan moments, and of course, a few jokes at Tom Izzo's expense. That's coming up on the March to Glory.
The number 4 seed, Spartans of Michigan State.
It's hard to win championships. Really hard to win championships. So embrace it. I can't tell you how proud I am of you. Bring it in, boys.
Go, Russ.
Champs on 3. 1, 2, 3. Champs.
That was the scene and the sounds from the locker room Sunday after the Spartans beat Michigan to win that Big Ten tourney title. Let's check in with Lansing Sexton product Denzel Valentine to see how he felt about the excitement of Sunday and the NCAA tournament draw, a number 4 seed in Spokane. Was there any particular reaction when your name came up on the board and you're going to Spokane?
I was kind of a little bit, confused that we got a 4 seed, but hey, it's whatever, and we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, you think this team now is more tournament ready than at any time at the right time of the year, don't you?
Yeah, I think we're tournament ready, and I think we can show the world, what we can do, what we're capable of.
Still got that net on there, huh? You gonna sleep with that or what?
Yeah, I probably will.
You feel pretty good up there?
Yeah, it feels good to cut down those nets in front of my family and all the Michigan State fans, and it was a special moment.
You bet it was. Denzel and company are hoping to make a deep run in this tournament, and nothing less than 6 wins would be a disappointment for the Spartans. Now with their health back, they go back to their goal from day one of winning a national championship. One guy who thinks the Spartans have a whale of a shot to make the Final Four in Dallas is Indiana coach Tom Crean, a former assistant at MSU, along with Tom Izzo. Both worked for Judd Heathcote. And Crean stayed on Izzo's staff for a few years when Tom got Judd's job. And the IU boss man told me he thinks his buddy Izzo has the goods to get into Dallas in 2 weeks.
You could put him in the conversation. I don't care what guard it is in the country. He belongs on that first line with any of them because he's doing so much for his teammates. And because he's doing so much for his teammates, so much is coming back to him. They've always been guard-driven, no matter how good the bigs were. And when they're leadership-driven, they're at another level. I think they're pretty leadership-driven with Keith Appling.
All right, Mr. Crean got cut off a little there because, but he was talking about Keith Appling's importance to this team. Not sure who you have for your Final Four bracket, but as Audrey said, the president He's on the Spartan bandwagon. For ESPN, President Obama had Michigan State in his Final Four. Here's the Spartans beating Louisville for the national championship on that magic Monday night. All right, the president and Tom Crean aren't alone. A whole lot of people are hopping on the Spartan bandwagon, especially after the 3 wins in that Big Ten tourney. We're not done with the Spartans yet, so don't turn the channel, MSU fans. Much more coming up that's green and white, but we go maize and blue up next. Michigan dancing too. We'll hear from the Wolverines up next on March to Glory. Really neat moment last month in the Michigan locker room. Current players singing the victors with members of U of M's last national championship team, the 1989 gang. A life memory there in Ann Arbor. Michigan opens play tomorrow night, 7:10 here on TV6 against Wofford. And the Wolverines did not appear bummed out when the pairings were announced Sunday night that they were not a #1 seed after losing to MSU. #2 seed, they're more focused on looking ahead and enjoying the fruits of a terrific season, winning the school's first outright Big Ten championship since 1986. And very philosophical about the #2 seed and the Milwaukee site to start their tournament run tomorrow.
I don't know if it's like it's that much excitement. It's just, I don't know. It's not like we didn't expect to be in the tournament. So
right.
I know who we play first. That's it. You never know what can happen in those first couple rounds. So it's not like we're going to start planning out Sweet 16 games and stuff like that. We got to win the first game first.
But the seed's a little overrated. You're all in the tournament. You all got to win 6 games.
Yes, exactly. You got to win 6 games, and you got to do whatever you can. You can't count anybody out because it's March. Teams are doing whatever they can to win, and nobody's just going to lay down. So, it's going to be a great March. Great games.
What is the big deal? I mean, seriously, I'm sure these teams were trying to figure out where are those last 3 seeds and where are those first 3. They're all the same. Take the top 12 teams, and there's really a big difference between the 1, 2, 3. The top 16 teams, the top 4. There's not huge differences. The teams that were #1 just a month ago, right, in the country are 4 or 5 seeds. They're the same team. They're good.
All right, good point there. A moment ago, we saw President Obama's bracket with Michigan State winning it all. Well, our Tim Skubic caught up with another political figure, trying to get him to reveal his bracket. But you see, Governor Rick Snyder works in Lansing and went to Michigan, so even Scooby couldn't get him off the fence.
I have a final that's pretty straightforward.
Call with them.
Michigan State in the finals.
And who wins?
Well, you can guess that one. I'll let you review my bracket on that one.
Read between the lines, he's a Michigan grad. All right, when we come back, more tournament hoop talk, but we change teams and genders. The Michigan State women head to the road this weekend, too. And the coach knows her way to the office at Breslin now, though the day she drove up here to take the job 7 years ago, ugh.
I knew where Breslin was, but I didn't know the exact street to turn on to get to the basketball offices. Really? So I kind of had a little panic as we got off the expressway. Gary's like, all right, which way? And I said, gosh, I think it has to be near Breslin, right?
Susie found her way to Breslin that day, and she has found her niche in the Spartan basketball program. We'll go one-on-one with Susie Q and talk to East Lansing's Clarissa Bell, too, up next on March to Glory. All right, let's spend some time on MSU's other NCAA tournament team, the Spartan women, who leave tomorrow for a Sunday tournament opener against 12th seed Hampton in the Stanford Regional. The ladies waited nervously in front of the big screen TV in the MSU Theater Room Monday to find out the tournament destination. A sigh of relief that they didn't have to go back to College Park, Maryland for a 3rd straight year. Instead, it's to Chapel Hill, North Carolina, this weekend for a 6th straight appearance in the NCAA tournament, and plenty of motivation for the ladies to move on.
It is somewhat like the Big Ten tournament, obviously one and you're done, but it is different because you're playing teams that you don't know every single personnel about. The difference there is literally who has prepared the most and who has the most confidence and being able to the will to win, like Coach always talks about.
And going to North Carolina, I think it just brings sun, and that just brings everybody's energy and moods up, honestly. And so I'm excited about going there. It's a new facility, new area. hopefully we can make some good memories there.
I think at this time of year, you just kind of keep your eye on the prize and, you know, work at competing and putting the best game plan together to get after whether it be Hampton the first game, and then if you're lucky enough to move on the second game.
Final hurrah for two MSU seniors who spoke in that clip, Annalise Pickerel and Clarissa Bell. We've been privileged to watch Kay Bell do her thing around here for 8 years now. A brilliant career at East Lansing High School was followed up by an excellent career at MSU. Audrey Dahlgren joins me now again for more on the gal known around here as Kay Bell. Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Fred. Well, what a journey it really has been for Clarissa Bell. Her high school accolades can't even be counted on one hand, with her biggest moment in this photo behind me, receiving Michigan's Miss Basketball Award in 2010. The East Lansing native didn't have to travel far to continue her dream of playing college basketball, and she quickly became known by the MSU community as the hometown girl.
Imagine if your hometown's backyard was located in the heart of a Big Ten university.
Well, it's been an interesting journey. I mean, my freshman year, I didn't start, and I mean, obviously I wasn't going to start, but I didn't get that much playing time either. I mean, I kind of expected it just being a freshman and having to learn like the ways, and I mean, we had a great senior class who was here and some great guards, and so I was behind a lot of people in line. That was kind of hard, just going from a starter on my team, you know, for 4 years, and then winning Miss Basketball, and then just not playing at all. So that was just a totally different role for me. I mean, you just see like people in the community who are just like, what's going on? Why aren't you playing? Right. And so, I mean, that was a little difficult at that time, because you understand why you're not playing, but then you're still confused as to why you can't get like just a few more minutes. But I mean, that's just how it is here. You just got to keep working hard, and then you'll finally get your chance. And then that's what happened at the end of my sophomore year, and I got a chance to start against Penn State, and then it just kind of went uphill from there and never looked back.
So that first year was kind of a struggle.
Right. Coming to Michigan State, I've had to grow up more like mentally and like emotionally than I have like physically. Just because you're so confused. I mean, you think that you're a good player, and then you just see like other people who are so much better, and you're really trying to get to that level. Or sometimes you think that you're playing just as good as someone else, but coach, I mean, they have just more experience on the court, so you're not going to play. It is hard when you're in East Lansing and you know every single person here, or they know you, and you go into Meyer and everyone's asking about the season, and you're thinking like, I don't even play, why are you asking me? I don't know, just things like that. So it was difficult, but it always turned out in a good way. I mean, people are super nice about it. I mean, nobody was ever like rude to me.
Now, 4 years later, she has accomplished yet another first for her team. Bell's senior class is the only class in MSU women's basketball history to have won 2 Big Ten titles.
Anna and I always talk about how we didn't really feel like we were like a part of that, like win here, freshman year. Just because we weren't on the court, you know, really that was like the seniors. It is something that I'm proud of, but in a sense, I still don't really feel like we like won it our freshman year, you know, like, but I don't know, it's awesome to have. I mean, I guess everyone's like, well, it's so cool, but it hasn't really hit me yet. I don't know.
Her work ethic is what she'll be known for on the court, but off the court, it's her ability to influence others that will be remembered the most.
I don't think there's been anybody, and there's been a lot of local kids that have played here, that have affected more young people and have been a better ambassador than Clarissa Bell. She's lit up so many little faces just with the high five and encouraging words, and I don't think that's easy when you're from East Lansing, Michigan, to have that kind of pressure and to be perfect all the time, and to watch her do it with grace and dignity and in such a classy way. I will tell you, it's just been a joy to watch, and I'm really proud of the fact that she's a Spartan.
Susie was saying that you are a great ambassador for this university. How does that make you feel? And I guess, you know, what's it like seeing all these little girls at the Breslin look up to you?
Yeah, they're so cute. I just like being able to be a good role model for younger girls, and I guess coming from East Lansing and having all of them live locally and having them love Michigan State, and seeing that I came from East Lansing, a local school, and was able to come here, I think that that's something that they can look up to. And all these little girls always tell me like, I want to play for Michigan State, and I'm like, well, you can, you just got to like work hard. I'm glad that I could be a role model for them. Something that I definitely embraced while being here is being a role model for these little girls, and it really just makes me feel good about myself. I mean, the fact that they are like love me and always trying to give me hugs and signatures and everything, so it's a good feeling.
Good feeling indeed. Well, Michigan State hasn't been to the Sweet 16 since Clarissa Bell joined the team. So before she turns the page on this chapter as a Spartan, that is one last goal she'd like to accomplish and hopes to add to an already impressive legacy. Fred?
Hi, impressive young lady. Two impressive young ladies, Kay Bell and Audrey. Now for the coach of the Spartans, Susie Merchant, season number 7, and she has made a major impact after succeeding the highly impactful and successful run of Joanne P. McCauley. Merchant just won her second Big Ten title, 20 wins, 7 seasons in a row, 6 straight NCAA tournament appearances, and frankly is a media darling, whether she wants to be or not. The media is part of your job.
Mm-hmm.
You strike me as somebody who just wants to coach.
Well, I think every coach just wants to coach. If it was just coaching, you'd be good, but it's coaching and recruiting and all the other things that go with it that sometimes make it a little bit busy and a little bit hectic.
You can never seem to shut it off. What do you do when you shut it off?
Well, hopefully I have a really big bottle of wine in front of me. It's really bad. Don't put that on.
Oh, it's too late.
It's all right. I deserve it, I guess. I said it. You know, really, I think the best time when I'm at my best in terms of shutting it off is usually when I'm with my boys, my 2 little guys, and really invested in what we're doing, playing in the playroom or running around outside or going sledding or anything I can do just to get away from it. When I'm with them, it's usually the best time I have to shut it off.
You must have a pretty remarkable husband.
Cal, we got to talk about my husband.
You talk about
He's going to get a big ego.
I know it. But if you talk about a coach's wife, I mean, to be a coach's husband.
Yeah.
I mean, your kids don't understand that one of them's old enough to read a schedule, and if mommy doesn't play on Thursday, yeah, but mommy's going to Davenport, Iowa to recruit.
Right. You know, Gary has his own career and profession, so we got to try to really manipulate the system, and it doesn't always work that way. I think on the other side, there's the coach's spouse, and if it's a female, she doesn't usually work. The one thing that I'll say about Gary that I think really helps me is that he's extremely funny and sarcastic, and so he can lighten the mood like that, and he's usually really on point. The other thing is he knows nothing about basketball, which is really good, but he does understand sports and athletics because he was an athlete in college. So I think we have a real good sense of how to communicate during the season, no question.
Did you envision yourself coaching?
Actually, in college, I remember specifically saying that I would never be a college basketball coach. You know, for me, I didn't think that I would like that life. But what I decided to do was I didn't have a job out of college, and there was an assistant coaching position open, and my high school coach said, well, why don't you just go ahead and give it a try? So when I got there, I absolutely fell in love with it. And mostly I fell in love with the ability to affect and connect with young people.
I remember when you were hired, Joel Ferguson got to the mic, and it was a little bit of slap at your predecessor, but he said, it's nice to have somebody where this is her dream job.
We're kind of really excited that we've got a person who this is her dream job.
And this really is your dream job.
It is.
I mean, you're a lifer here if they want you, right?
Yeah, if they'll have me, no question about it. I mean, I really do appreciate Michigan State, and you know, it's just so unique, and I say that because it is really about the people, and that's what we sell at Michigan State, is as great of a basketball program as we have, and the fan base and the facilities and all the great things. I mean, it really is about Luana Simon and Mark Hollis and Shelly Applebaum and Izzo and Anastas and D'Antonio and Jake Boss and Jackie Joseph and Kathy George. I mean, the connection that we all have is so special and so unique. It's really hard to explain to outside people. It is not like that. And I've been at several universities, even smaller ones. You know, I think Izzo says it best. It's like Division II people in a big-time BCS atmosphere, and I really believe that we have that, and it's not like that, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
As you head into the NCAA tournament, the bad news is the last time you played, you were embarrassed.
Yep.
Is that also the good news?
Well, it certainly has put a little pedal to the pedal to the metal, as they say. Yeah, I think it certainly caused me to, you know, struggle a little bit and letting some of that go, but it's also fueled, I think, our team, that we know we're better than that. 7 years ago when you took this job, did you drive up here? I did.
What was that like, the drive up here?
Surreal, actually.
Do you remember it?
Oh, yeah, I actually do remember it.
Who were you with?
My husband, and it was just Gary and I. And I specifically remember it, and I remember, you know, wanting to make sure that when I stepped up to the microphone, there was so much at stake, quite honestly, you know, and it sounds so silly, but I had to win over a team, and a team that has never met me before. Had to win over recruits, had fan base, had the president and the administration that you really wanted to put your best foot forward for. So I remember being, I wouldn't say nervous, excited, anxious, because I knew I could do it. I just needed the opportunity. And I can remember as we were driving up here really making sure that my thoughts were 100% together and that I would hopefully present and represent myself well and you know, win some people over. Even in that short 5-10 minute speech, I knew it was an important time. The other thing is when we got here, I realized I knew where Breslin was, but I didn't know the exact street to turn on to get to the basketball offices. So I kind of had a little panic as we got off the expressway. Gary's like, all right, which way? And I said, gosh, I think it has to be near Breslin, right? So that was a little concerning, but that's a little tidbit nobody knows. I've never even told Hollis that, but I'm sure he'll ask me about it now.
And 7 years later, you have 2 of those things next to you there. Mm-hmm. Pretty good feeling, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And really for this team in particular, I will tell you, not that the first one wasn't enjoyable, but we had a really veteran group that year. And to be able to accomplish what we accomplished with some of our distractions and off-court things, a season is hard on everybody, let alone young kids. So to see what we were able to do and to be able to accomplish that even through down the stretch without a true point guard, I think really says a lot about this group.
Well, may your favorite month stretch into my favorite month. Good luck in the tournament.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, I love April, and March is pretty good too. Over 160 wins in 7 seasons here, and at this rate, Susie will fulfill her dream of being a Spartan for life. She is a very good coach and very popular person. When we come back, we go back out to Spokane, where Kevin Gale joins us with a very special conversation he had this morning with the Juddaroo. Judd Heathcote from Spokane up next on March to Glory. You got to see this. Welcome back to our pre-NCAA tournament special, March to Glory. The March for Michigan State this year for the men takes the Spartans through Spokane, of course, and that's the home of former longtime MSU basketball coach Judd Heathcote. Judd had lunch with Tom Izzo and Mark Few from Gonzaga yesterday, had dinner with Gus Ganakis and Doug Herner and the team last night, and had breakfast this morning with our Kevin Gale in Spokane.
Judd, thanks so much for having us in Spokane. You must feel like the unofficial welcoming party here.
Well, we're just glad that they could come out here so we get to see them play. And as I told you before, Kevin, you know, they were out here 4 years ago, won 2 games, moved on. And they came to play Gonzaga 2 years ago and won, so I tell them I'm their good luck charm.
Your wife said there's a 1 in a million chance that they'll end up in Spokane. Well, this must be the millionth chance.
Well, you know, we were watching the seeding, and I said, wouldn't it be something if they sent Michigan State to Spokane? And she says, that would never happen in a million years. 10 minutes later, they announced that Michigan State is coming to Spokane. So I just figure I'm smarter than my wife.
I won't tell her you said that. You know, Tom said the other day the most proud accomplishment he has is this long streak of getting into the tournament.
Well, at 17 years is outstanding, but I think his overall record and his ability to get into 6 Final Fours. You know, we, as you know, won the national championship in 1979, and that was my 3rd year at Michigan State. And as egotistical as I am, I thought, well, we'll get here a number of times still. And, you know, coached 16 more years, never got back. It's hard to get to the Final Four.
You know, I was watching SportsCenter this morning, and they did a story on Tom Izzo. They put a heart monitor on him during a game, and they were showing how intense he is and how his heart jumps up and down during a game. That sounds a lot like a coach who used to coach at Michigan State. Do you see a lot of yourself in Tom Izzo?
Well, not really, because I'm a lot taller than Tom. But, yeah, you know, I always had a saying that sooner or later the game makes fools of us all. And, you know, you get so emotional that, you know, you can't help but get your heart beat up. And I see a lot of myself in Tom just because he's so competitive, and that's what I was. And I say as a coach, he's still a great teacher, and I've always maintained that the best coaches are teachers first and coaches second.
There was a video that Fred showed me the other day from our old archives. You actually took a basket, I think it was against Illinois, you took a basketball, you were so upset during a game, you bounced it on the floor and it came back and bloodied your nose. Can you explain to me how that happened and why? What were you so upset about?
Well, I think there was a bad call or a bad turnover or something, and the ball came to me, and I just overreacted. I threw it down about as hard as I could, and it hit me in the nose. And I tell you, I can't remember any pain that was greater than that. And it's ironic because, you know, my last year, everywhere I went, well, they gave me a gift. And at Illinois, they gave me a football helmet to kind of remember that time, along with a watch also. But yeah, that was an embarrassing situation, and I've seen it a million times on TV since.
Now, as soon as the bracket came out, Tom actually said, I'll invite Judd Lee to be an assistant on my sideline. You going to take him up on that offer?
You know, I'm going to be sitting up in a suite, not even in the Michigan State section, because it's hard for me to get down the stairs, get in a seat. So I've got a friend that has a suite that's giving me a seat there. So I won't be on the bench. I won't be behind the bench, but I'll be rooting awfully hard.
Yeah, he will. Great to see Judd, and we thank him for his time. He was at MSU's practice yesterday. So was former coach Gus Ganakis, along with Tom Izzo in the gym. That's 45 years of MSU coaching expertise in one gymnasium. All right, when March to Glory continues, we reminisce a bit with a couple of MSU's national championships past, and we'll have a very special conversation with one of Judd's players. A very special K. It's up next, so stay with us. The Izzo fist bump. Who can ever forget MSU's one shining moment in 2000? Remember Jim Nance at the end of the game, his call, and leave it to Cleves. It's been 14 years now since Tom Izzo's national championship year at Michigan State. Izzo wasn't around yet for the '79 Jennison gang, at least not around here, that won it all. We are used to seeing Gregory Kelser in finely tailored suits on the sidelines now, calling games as a basketball analyst. But 35 years ago, Kelser helped lead the Spartans to a national championship. They're only one, playing second banana to the Magic Man, Irvin Johnson. We chatted with Special K about his memories and about this year's Spartan team and its chance to make its own March to Glory.
Well, I think Tom Izzo understands the big picture. He's always looked at the big picture, and he's not going to be mentally dismantled by a couple of early season losses or even late season losses, because he knows what he's building towards. When you've gone to the Final Four 6 times, you understand the process, and you don't panic when things fall off track just a little bit. He has the great knack of being able to get his team ready to play that single opponent on that given night, so that you can win in advance. He understands that whole concept probably better than most. I'll never forget one time having a conversation with Tubby Smith, who's had a tremendous amount of success himself in college basketball as far as a coach is concerned, and getting to Final Fours. And I think Tom had just gotten to his 5th or 6th one, and he says, man, he's a Final Four guru. It's amazing how he just does that, and he's done it from a lot of different slots in your brackets. I mean, he's done it from a 6 seed, he's done it from a 4 seed, obviously he's done it a few times from the top spot. He'll have his team ready, and everybody knows that, and they respect his ability to do it. They fear it too.
Very few seconds remain in the ball game. Johnson down to Kelser. This could put the frosting on the cake, and Kelser slams it in. Gregory Kelser, and Michigan State has won its first NCAA championship in history, defeating Indiana State 75-64.
Well, there's nothing like winning it. I know in my own experience, having won the championship in 1979, and I remember folks who were much older and wiser than we were at that time saying that, the significance of it will never diminish. In fact, it will continue to grow, and you'll appreciate it more as time passes, and that is absolutely true. You look back on it and you appreciate the opportunity, and you understand how rare it is, no matter how good you are as an individual or as a team. It is a rare accomplishment to achieve. So therefore, I feel very fortunate. I used to go around lamenting the fact that I didn't win more than one, because we, in my mind, were just as good the year before when we lost in the regional finals to a Kentucky team that won it all a week later, thinking, you know, wow, it would have been nice to win two. But, you know, I've been able to come to grips with that and not be so haunted by it, because we didn't have to even have one. You know, that was not a given. It wasn't a guarantee. So I'm very thankful and happy to have been a part of at least one national championship team winning experience.
He was a special K and really was a special player and a special guy. Another special guy is up next, the Spartan coach, who is like Frank Sinatra. He does it his way.
I've seen you grab Brandon Dawson by the shirt collar and stick your finger in his chest and question his manhood. And when he won that tournament MVP, he made a beeline, pardon the pun, to you to hug and rub your head. What does that say about tough love?
It's the only way to be.
It's the only way Izzo can be, and his way certainly works. And it worked again this past weekend. Can it work more for a few more? We'll pick the brain of Mr. March up next on March to Glory. It's his month, and Tom Izzo gains a lot of attention this time of year. Cover boy this past weekend on a national magazine. And as Kevin mentioned earlier, ESPN hooked Izzo up with a heart monitor a couple weeks ago to measure his heart rate and recovery rate during a game. Izzo is king of March, and when you've been to 6 Final Fours like Reggie Jackson was to the month of October, Tom Izzo is to the month of March. A .722 NCAA tournament winning percentage. He's coached in 54 games in this tourney, too. Tom Izzo sat down to go one-on-one with me for our March to Glory special before he left for Spokane, where yesterday he did have lunch with his old boss, who now lives there.
When you saw your name on the board and you saw Spokane, I mean, Judd had to come right to your mind.
Oh, he did. You know, I pictured the last time we were there, Purdue was there, and Gene Katie and Judd sat right behind me when we played, and then they sat right behind Painter when they played, and that's pressure, man. That's more pressure than trying to get to a Final Four.
You know, I know you coach to win every game, and some people think maybe you don't. But your players kind of told me this weekend he has his March face on. Do you? Does it change?
Well, we've been through so much, you know, and, you know, they talk about players having a chip on their shoulder, you know, when, I mean, I'm human too, you know, when I hear people bailing on us and in my own city, when I know why, I mean, I've been pretty blunt and honest. I said from day one, this team is capable of going to a Final Four, capable of winning the Big Ten championship, capable of being a special team, and I told you when we were in trouble and why we weren't doing it. Maybe this year a little more chip on my own shoulder, not to show anybody anything, just for my own satisfaction, because I haven't deemed a lot of teams good enough to do what I said this team could do. I become a fan of them. I become a coach of them. I became a team doctor this year. I got a lot of things on the plate.
I can share this with you, I think. A couple of weeks ago, you lost 4 out of 5, and my good Spartan Fred said, this is the worst job Izzo's ever done coaching. And you win the weekend tournament, and it's go green, go white. I mean, that's just the world you live in, right?
It is, but, you know, it doesn't make it the right world either. And believe me, there's a lot more than your friends. And, I mean, I do understand it, and I'm a fan myself, but you better ask that guy if he's been living in a cave. I mean, when you go to a game, if you're a fan, and you see 18 rebounds and 20-some points sitting on the bench. Excuse me for saying this, but an idiot could figure out that we're not the same team. You don't have to be a coach, or you don't have to be a sports reporter. If he says Izzo did that, that's cool. If he said the players did that, that's not cool.
Well, he's not an idiot, but he's a fan. That's what fans are, right? They're passionate. I know you don't like it. But
I always differ with you guys on freedom of speech. To speak freely, you have to speak intelligently. And so you better know what you're speaking about. How's that for? That'll get you in a that'll get me in a fight before we're done.
I'll pass that along.
Yeah.
I know a lot of high school coaches that hear from moms and dads about little Johnny getting yelled at because this is a new society now and we have rights. And I've seen you grab Brandon Dawson by the shirt collar and stick your finger in his chest and question his manhood. And when he won that tournament MVP, he made a beeline, pardon the pun, to you to hug and rub your head. What does that say about tough love?
It's the only way to be. I mean, Our society is making a mistake on that. I'm not saying you should, you have to get in his face different ways, but allowing people to do stuff that's not making them successful doesn't sound like the right way to do it. Now, however you do it, everybody can have their own different way, but I know one thing. If you try to do it in a phony way to put yourself in a position to deal with what our society is doing right now, soft, unaccountable, not holding people accountable, not going to happen here. And if that means my time's up, my time will be up. But not going to happen at my house, not going to happen at my job, not going to happen in my life. And those parents, those trophy parents, there's other schools.
Mateen Cleaves says in an article this weekend in USA Weekend, Coach Izzo wants you to be successful so bad. That's what it's about, isn't it?
That is what it's about. I always tell my players I got mine. If I want to leave tomorrow, and I've been blessed by this university to have made a lot of money, be secure. Isn't that what we all work for, is security? Take care of your family and my family's family. I've got mine. It's helping them get theirs. That is really my mission. That and putting more banners in our building for our president, our board, our AD, and our alums. Other than that, I'm useless. It's just, it is about them. People would never understand that. I even understand why they don't understand it, but it is funny because probably the guy I've been the hardest on is Valentine, and probably the closest parent I am to is his dad. He is like he is, and he's become probably my most improved player by far because his dad is the exact same way. There is accountability. He has been held accountable. I'm not always proud of myself for how I do it, but really is the bottom line, are you getting it done? Because in the world, you don't get a lot of second chances to get it done.
And I was here when Carlton played, and Judd beat on him. He must have stories for Denzel, like, don't tell me your stories.
Hey, the great part about that is Judd beat on me too, so me and Carlton came from good stock.
Earlier in the show, I talked to Susie about trying to be a coach and a mother. I haven't talked to you about trying to be a coach and a father, but when I was a young sportscaster and a father, I always felt guilty when I was at work about not being home, and guilty when I was at home about not being at work.
Boy,
you've lived that, haven't you?
Mariucci and I always talk about that word, that word guilt, because that permeates through our lives. That's all, we live it every day, and it's just what you said. It's even worse when you're at home but your mind's somewhere else. Because that's even harder on them. They want your attention, and your mind is on that, Jabari Parker somewhere of the world, and that's hard. It's hard on your family. It's hard on you. But everybody talks about it being hard on the family. They forget we're human too. It's hard on us, One of the greatest things that happened this weekend, my son, he's not the most caring guy. I don't know why. My daughter, she's a saint. My son, he doesn't get emotional, but he's on the floor crying. And I asked my wife and daughter, what happened? He fall down, he get kicked? One of the players punch him, or what happened? And I said, no, he's so emotionally excited about this. That's the cool part about my family being in the same place for a long time. Family's involved in it too. My kids are very involved.
Yeah, I saw Rocky dancing in the stands. Steven went up with Adrian and cut the nets. So you get to share this with them now that they get older, don't you?
You really do, and it at least gives you something to hang your hat on to say, they're giving up a lot, but they are getting something in return, and some of the memories of where we played, and those will be memory makers that they'll be telling their kids someday, and that'll make it worth it.
All right, you've done the ladder commercial. So now you got to climb the ladder,
Boy, I'd love to climb a ladder, Climbing ladders are a big part of things, and it was kind of a crazy commercial, embarrassing for me, of course. As Judd would always say, sooner or later the game makes fools of us all. That was my moment for the NABC, my organization, that I took one for the team. I didn't really dance that quick. They doctored it up a little bit, as you guys can do in TV, and all that really matters is you get to cut down another set of nets, because that's what moving on does, and that's what makes it so special.
Good luck on the next two steps. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Fred.
We also want to touch on a really neat story. Tom Izzo at the banquet in an emotional address with 8-year-old cancer patient Lacey Holsworth at his side. Lacey's become friends with Adrian Payne. The team has befriended her, and Sunday in Indianapolis, well, Adrian put her on the stepladder to cut down her own nets. A remarkable young girl is in the hearts and minds of the Spartan team at all times. She's on our hearts and minds too. Lacey, if you're watching, keep fighting and get well, girl. That's our show for tonight. More from Kevin tomorrow in Spokane and tonight at 11. Enjoy your March to Glory. Thanks for watching.
March to Glory was